Hey, I'm making this video for my students to help them learn about Anki, how to use it, what it is, all that kind of stuff, right? So here's the home screen. When you go in, right, it's going to look a little bit differently when you download, but at the very end of the video, we'll get to that and how to make it look a lot better, all right? But this is Anki, okay? It is a free platform on the PC. It's not so free on like your phone, but that's why it's free on the PC, so it's more accessible, all right? So what is Anki? First off, it is a flashcard app, but what's special about it is it's going to use something called spaced repetition, all right? Now, spaced repetition is something that is going to take advantage of both efficiency, but also ability or productivity, right? It is going to find the best of both worlds in both of those avenues. So let me show you exactly what I mean. If I were to select a deck here, I'm going to choose my anatomy deck and go to browse up in the middle, very top middle, you're going to see that I have 3,218 cards in this entire anatomy deck. That's a lot of cards, right? If I wanted to review these throughout the semester and not forget any of them, I'm stuck to either do 3,000 cards in one setting or just choose, say, a random 100, 200 cards and hope I hit the ones that I need to learn the most, right? That's not the most efficient way to study, not at all. So instead, what Anki is going to do is to look at each one of the cards in that deck and assign it a value. And based on that value, it'll assign us the card in different time intervals so that we're seeing it when we need to see it, right? It's going to see it before we forget it, but also not give it to us if we don't need to see it, if it'd be redundant, right? If it'd be repetitive, not needed, right? So today, across all of my decks, Anki thought that I needed to study 269 cards, okay? And I did. That's great. Tomorrow, I'll have 209 cards. And on Monday, I'll have 94 cards, right? So it's all an interval system based off of what they think I need, right? And you'll see all these numbers differ based on the day, okay? So let's talk about how we make cards. Well, first off, we need to know how we're going to make a deck. So starting at the very bottom, we're going to see create deck. And then we can name it. So we're just going to name this one test, okay? And when we go into test, I'm going to press on it and I'm going to hit add in the very top, all right? When we hit add, a new screen is going to pop up. There's a lot here, so let's break it down piece by piece. In this first top left corner, we're going to have the option to choose what kind of card type we like. Now, basic is what we're all familiar with, okay? It's something where we type it in, and we're going to see the back. So let's see the example of the basic card. Okay, well, the house is red. All right, that is going to be a basic card, and I've just typed it in. This will be the front of my card. This will be the back of my card, okay? And when I want to hit add, I can go down here and press add. So there we go. I'll hit add. And now that has been added to my deck, okay? Before we go through a few more card types, let's look at what we see on our screen. So also we have the deck. So say we got in here and we messed it up, well, we can also change our deck based off of that, okay? Up here, there's a few different things. I wouldn't worry too much about these. This gives you the option to bold, italicize, underline, all kinds of interesting things. Pretty intuitive, especially considering you have, if you've used Word before, they're the exact same symbols as Word. Let's go back up here, though, to card type. And next, we're going to see basic and reverse. This is the exact same thing as the front and back, except it'll also show you the back and have you answer the front, right? So in a traditional flashcard setting, it's showing you the front, having you answer the back. Well, now you're going to have the back, and it's going to allow you to answer the front. So it's giving you both of those options, right? Kind of saving you a little bit of time. Basic, optional, and reverse card. This is fine. It's an optional reverse. I've never used it, but maybe that's something you might want to explore. Not for me, okay? Basic, type in the answers. This I think is great for vocabulary. So as I'm going to type in the house is red, you'll see that when you see this card later on, and I'm going to hit add in the bottom left again, you'll see it pops up and you have to type in the answer, which is really nice. Cloze is used a lot more for, cloze is going to be used a lot more for like lecture tests, okay, and lecture questions. Now, cloze is something unique. So with your normal flashcards, you're going to see front and back. You're going to see that this guy is going to take a line of text, and instead of having you answer it in the back, it is just going to show an underline where the answer is usually. So as I type in, the house is red, when we look at this card later, you'll see that this is just an underline, and we have to answer that underline, okay? And now this little coding thing is weird. I just typed it in. However, if you didn't know how to type it in, which why would you right away, you can highlight it. And up here, you're going to see two brackets. This first bracket is just going to give you that basic one, all right? So what is this? It's an open bracket, or whatever that weird squiggly thing is called, C1, so card 1, and then what's inside the card. And we're just going to close it with some notation, right? Now, if we're going to keep pressing this, this is going to keep giving us C1, C1 over and over again, so the same card. What's unique about cloze is that we can create multiple flashcards from this one sentence. So say I also wanted a card that said the blank is red. What is red? The house is red. So I can press this bracket with an addition symbol, and this will take out the word house and also show us a separate one. Now, in reality, would that be a good flashcard? The blank is red? No, because many different things are red, right? But you kind of see the application there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add. Now, you'll notice that on my thing, I have cloze and then something called cloze AnKing MCAT. For the basic version of Anki, you're going to see just a regular cloze function, okay? However, at the end, I will show you a download for something that is not, I'll show you a download for how to get this. And what is the benefit of having this cloze? It kind of looks a little bit prettier, right? So let me make a more advanced sentence. Say, the brick house is red mostly when in the south. Doesn't make any sense, all right? But, you know, I'm going to italicize the word brick. And how about I underline the word house? And how about I bold the word south? All right, and we'll just, again, close the word red here. And so you'll see later on that italicized words will turn red. Underlined words will turn blue. And bolded words will turn purple, which can, you know, spruce it up and add a little bit of life. So I'm going to add that so we can look at that in our deck later on, okay? Now let's take a look at some of the fields we have here. So in your basic cloze feature, you're going to have the text. This is something called freeze, which I've added in, and then extra. Now, text is, we're going to type your card in. If you were to look in this top right, this thumbnail, or this little thumbtack, if I were to press that and make a card, it's going to save this for the next one. So let's create another card. Let's say the door was black, all right? And if I were to make this, boom, hit add, notice this stays. So it's nice if you're just, you know, making repetitive kind of flashcards that we don't have to write it all out. It's an important thing to know, right? This freeze, this was made separate by me. It's exactly what it looks like if you wanted to press cards and type that in. This is nice for if you wanted to put a picture in here. So if you're going to insert a picture and keep, like say you're going through slides and you go through slides and you have a lot of questions pertaining to the exact same slide, it's sometimes nice to put a picture in there, right? So I pressed cards and then I literally just typed in freeze like that right below it, and that gave me this freeze field. Make sure it's below or it won't work. So this freeze field is right below, okay? Now, as I move along, there's one last one that I'll show you, and this is going to come through one of the add-ons later. This is called Image Occlusion Enhanced. This is very key for anatomy. This is a great resource for anatomy, and so how you're going to take advantage of this is in this top right here, you'll see Image Occlusion Enhanced, and you can press on that. Now, if you had something in here, you could pick it and it will populate it up, but for our sake, let's just say we're looking at anatomy PowerPoint. Let's take this PowerPoint picture here, and we can copy it. And we can pull down this thing, maybe not, put it in the header, hit Image Occlusion Enhanced, and it'll populate for us on this side, all right? Now, I chose this image on purpose because you'll note that it didn't bring these because in my PowerPoint, these are separate little bits that my teacher added on here. So what do? You take a screenshot of this little area, just like that. You know, not perfect, but you take a little screenshot. Oh, I have a timer on my screenshot. You take a little screenshot, all right, and then that can be pumped over here. So I'm going to change image. I'm going to go to my recents. This will populate eventually. There it is. And then I can make these cards, all right? And so here we go. It pops up like this. I can cover this. That'll be a new flashcard. That'll be a flashcard. All right, and then I can go down here and press either hide one, guess one, or hide all, guess all. The difference, if I were to press hide all, guess one, both of these would be covered. Only one I'd be answering. If it was hide one, guess one, this one's not covered, this one's being requested, and vice versa. I think hide all, guess one is better because then you can't cheat and look at the other one, especially considering these cards in the first day are going to come right after another, but it's up to you, right? So you're going to see me press hide all, guess one here, and those will go into my deck. If you ever make a mistake, you can either hit delete or backspace, or you can go up here to the cursor, select, and delete, all right? Most of this other stuff is useless for you, but there's some, you know, intuitive things if you want a circle to be a little bit prettier. I don't know, not for me, but could be up your alley. Okay, so back into here, that is Image Occlusion Enhanced. That should be all for all of the cards, yes. So once we're done with all of this, we can exit out, see ya, sayonara, and if I go all the way into here, you'll see now that in my test, I have 8 cards. So first off, this is a front and back card. The house is red. You see that is what front and back looks like. Here's the type in. House is red. You'll notice that I spelled it right, and so all appears in green. If I were to spell it wrong, you'll notice it, lights up like that, okay? And then here's the cloze function. So you'll notice, not underlined, but you know what I meant. Here's the cloze function. Okay, I'm going to press spacebar to reveal the house is red. Yes, cool. And then here is that color. The brick house is red, mostly one in the south, whatever that sentence means, right? You see the italicized words, the underlined word, and the bolded word all get different colors, which can help spruce things up, especially when you have kind of more complex flashcards, okay? Now, and then here is an example of kind of the basic flashcard. And here's the image occlusion enhanced. So you see it just covered that one up. All right. Now, going back through, and this, one more time, you saw the house is red. Earlier, red was covered up. Now the house is covered up, right? So it's the same card, but now it's 2, right? And if I go down here in the bottom left, press edit, you can see C1 and C2 there. All right, I make it close in the bottom right. Now let's talk about answering, okay? So for the answer button, you can always press show answer down here, or you can press spacebar. Spacebar is your automatic show answer button, so spacebar. Now, depending on whether I got the answer right, I have 4 intervals for what to do, right? I have again, which will show me again in 1 minute. I have hard, which in this case will show me again in 10 minutes. I have good, and then I have easy, okay? So, based on what it is, I'll press. I think I had the door is black, good, so it'll show me again tomorrow, all right? And as time goes on, these intervals will change from 1 minute to, 1 minute will typically stay about 1 minute or 10 minutes, but easy can go all the way up to months or years. Good can go up to days or months, weeks, things like that, right? So these intervals change. It's not always 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 day, 5 days. They change as we go along. This is a brand new card though, so if we go back to this curve, we're going to really take advantage, right? We only have a few days between reviews, but as time goes on, you'll notice we're going to get bigger and bigger between reviews. So I'm going to press good. Now the other thing to know is when I show answer, I don't have to only be using my fingers. Note that again is tied to 1 on your keyboard, hard is 2, good is 3, and 4 is easy. So without even pressing it, I can press 3 and have it be good, all right? And so this allows me to do is just go through a little bit quicker. One other important thing to know is the show answer card is also going to function as the good as well. So I can press space all the way through, and that is just to make it easier because in theory, most of your cards you should be getting right and they should be good. You should only be using hard when it is truly hard for you and when you think you need to see it a little bit sooner, and when you should only be using easy when you think it's really, really easy, right? So most of the time you're pressing good, and so they're going to use that to help map, right? I do have to type in an answer for this one, so red. I'm going to press spacebar because that is the same thing as good, okay? All of that makes sense, I believe. Let's just orientate ourselves to what we see here. So we already saw the edit function, which is nice, and more here. This will give us kind of some of our options. So let's go through. A flag card, what does that do? A flag card can be nice. We'll just flag red, and I'll show you later, but it allows us to observe it in that deck, right? We have 3,218 cards. It can be hard to find, right? We have a search function, but maybe we want to flag a few cards, and you'll see we can sort by flag, okay? Berry card, what does berry card mean? Say as I'm going through and I am doing this, I accidentally reveal, oh shoot, the house is red. Well, say I've been reviewing this card for a month now, right? And so this, again, interval is still 1 minute, but maybe my hard interval is like 3 weeks, maybe my good interval is like a month and a half, and my easy interval is like 3 months from now. Well, I just saw this card on accident, so I didn't really get to learn it or use my learning step, right? But I don't want to hit good because then it's not going to show me it again for a few months. And I don't want to hit again because then it's going to dampen what's called the card ease, right? It's going to make the computer think that I don't know it as well as I do. So instead of messing with my algorithm, I'm just going to go to more and hit bury card. Alternatively, you can use that little slash, which should be next to the plus button and the 0 button, right? So bury card will make it so I'll see it the first thing tomorrow, okay? What else do we have here? Suspend cards. So say you have cards that you don't want to see for a little bit, but you don't want to delete them. You can suspend them. There are various other things in here. Most of them won't be that useful to you. There's delete note. That can be useful. Do note, though, that if I can find it, so for this question, though, the house is red. Notice I have 2 things here. This is considered a note. This whole thing is considered a note, all right? So both the C2 and C1, both cards are considered a note. So even if I don't like this house is red, I should not hit delete because then it will delete the other card that says the blank or the house is blank red. All right. So what you have to do instead is suspend. If you have a closed card with multiple things on it, you have to hit suspend for the one you don't want to see. It's weird. I hope that makes sense. But if I were to delete this, I'd be getting rid of both this card where the house is blank, but also be getting rid of the other card where it says the house is blank, where red is the answer. Okay. So if you have a closed deletion with multiple cards on them and you want to get rid of one of them, suspend the card. Do not delete it. Okay. Other than that, it's fairly simple. Let's talk about one other use of keys. If you go through and you make a mistake and you just want to go back, or maybe you want to see the card again, you can hit U on your keyboard, and that is undo. Okay, that should be all you have to know for actually doing the flashcards. Okay, so let's go back to our deck screen and take another look at what else we see here. All right, so we know what Dex does, we know what Add does, we've learned about Create Deck here in the bottom. What is Browse? You kind of already saw it earlier, but Browse is the master list of every flashcard you have. So on this left side, we have all kinds of things. We have things that are scheduled today, in the future, that have been edited, all kinds of stuff. Here's access to our flags, which we see we just flagged one of them. I have a random other thing flagged from who knows when. All right. I'm going to see by studying my new card states. What are my new cards? I have some new cards. I have some that are suspended, some that are buried for tomorrow. You see, I made mistakes on 2 cards here today. I'd accidentally showed them, so it's going to show me it tomorrow, right? I can look at certain decks, all right? I can go through and look at certain things called tags, which is something I did mention when you add a card. In the bottom, you can make a tag. It's very similar to flagging it. Say I want this only for anatomy. You know, I can tag it, or maybe I want it only for test 1, right? I can have it only be test 1, right? Things like that, which can be nice. Say you're studying for a final, you really need to study test 1 stuff. You can only study test 1 specific stuff, so you can look at everything that was in a certain tag, all right? Going back to this, it's nice because you can look at each card, edit it right away. There's no saving them. You can preview them so you can see what the card would look like in theory, right? Most of this is all the same. You have the option to double click here. If you make a mistake and add one to the wrong card, you can either select some, you can just choose one, you can 2-finger click, or I believe right click on any kind of Windows thing and hit change deck and follow through with that. What else do we have here? If you need to forget something, so the due date, I would mess with that, but it's an option, all right? And again, here's the thing with the flag. I can see it much easier, or I can go over here and go to my flags and see that, right? So that all should make fair enough sense. I hope it does. I'm going to get out of Browse now and go into our next one, which is Stats. I'm going to go to my Anatomy because I have been using this for a longer time, so I'll have more stats. But this is sometimes kind of nice just to get you a general overall view, all right? So Future Do, this is just kind of showing me what's in the future. You know, I have a calendar for what days I reviewed on. Looks a lot like my calendar out front. If you remember that, looks a lot like that. Showing me some of my reviews and my card counts. So these dark green is the mature cards I've known for a long time. This lighter green is maybe younger cards, or maybe cards that I've kind of forgotten. All right, and then this yellow is what I had suspended, and there would be other things in there if I had more. All right, there are other things in here, but the last thing to keep in mind of is ease. And I was mentioning ease, all right, so, and it's kind of saying it, the lower the ease, the more frequently the card will appear. So each card is assigned a value of ease. So of those 3,218, 1,344 have a 250% ease, while 214 have a 130% ease. And I'm going to see these cards much, much sooner than these cards, right? And that's what it bases it off of, right? So stats can be nice. I don't look at them too often, but they're kind of nice if you're bored. Last thing on this screen is sync. Sync is essentially if you're going to create a account with Anki, which is free, of course. It allows you to go, whether it be on a desktop, like with their Anki Web actual website, not the app, but the website, or if you're going to buy Anki on your phone, it allows you to sync it across multiple devices. It's a very easy thing to take advantage of should you want to, but it's not required, okay? So that will never be a requirement for you, but it is here if that is something you pursue, and it's fairly easy to walk through. And then, of course, here we have on each side of our cards, we have a little options button, so we can either rename it, we can do options, or if we even wanted to, we could export our decks, right? So we could either I could export the whole deck, all right, to my friends, or I could go in and choose a certain number of cards, all right, and when I go under notes, you can see, whoopsies, not delete, but I can export the notes, right? So that's always nice, and of course, I can add tags afterwards. I don't know if you notice that, but I can also add tags afterwards. There's a lot of options here, okay? Other than that, that is the general gist of how Anki works and everything like that. So now let me show you how to get the rest of this, right? Because as you go through, you'll notice you don't have this fancy little heat map, you don't have any kind of picture in the background, and there are a few other things that you're missing as well. So how do we get those for you? Some of you may already have this. Well, here I'm going to show those that don't know how to do this. So I'm going to go up in the top. For Windows users, you'll see just it up in the top left, but for Mac, you'll have to go and kind of hover at the bar, hit Tools, and then go to Add-ons, okay? It's going to pop up the screen. You'll have none here. So you're going to go ahead and hit Start by getting Get Add-ons, all right? You're going to press Get Add-ons on the pop of the screen. You're going to do these codes. What are these codes? So each of them, here's the first code. You can pause your screen. That's the first code, okay? And the second code right there. The third code, and the fourth code. Okay, so each of these codes will give you different things, all right? So custom image background and gear icon, this is going to allow you to get the unique image in the background, all right? And we'll talk about that. Custom keyboard shortcuts, should you want to use other things than 1 through 4, you can use that. I like 1 to 4. Maybe that doesn't interest you, so you don't have to add it, whatever. These are all free, right? Who cares? Image occlusion enhanced, that's how you're going to be able to do that blocking out thing I showed you for anatomy. That's pretty cool, right? And the review heat map is that fancy heat map down in the middle of my screen that I was showing you about, all right? So now, once you have these downloaded, you're going to need to exit out of Anki and completely restart the whole application, okay? And then open it back up. Once you open it back up, then go back into Tools, and go back into Add-ons, and inside of Add-ons, we're going to look at our custom background image and gear icon, and we can hit Config, and this screen should pop up right here, okay? Most of this isn't useful for you, but this would be the only useful portion, is the image name for background, okay? And for me, I just downloaded an image off the internet, named it Greek.jpg, and typed it in as Greek.jpg. And then I also, if you press the 3 buttons here, you'll see that it's going to load this up. I also took that just in my basic downloads file and moved it into here. All right, so there's a few other things that it comes with. So you can see there's like, Sunset Mountain. I deleted most of them, but there was about 15 other pictures. Some of the Milky Way, which I think is the basic one. There's some beach. There's all kinds of things, all right? And you can select that, and that'll be your background. Again, I knew I liked this image. It's one of my favorite by the painter Thomas Cole, and so I made that my background, okay? Very well. The rest of that is all good as it is, and so then your screen will look like as you see it now, all right? That's everything else. For this little guy in here, there is some more options. If you don't like the color, you can change the color. I like flame. You can change the intervals that you see it in, right? And things like that are interesting. Also do note that if you press on any date here, it'll bring you to the browse feature for just that day. So I'll see everything that I'm going to see tomorrow, or it looks like that was probably everything I saw today. Yeah, that was everything I saw today, right? So that's an interesting point. So then how do you actually download Anki in the first place? Well, you go in and you type in Anki into your app and do just any browser, and you're going to press the first one. Now, it's not going to be this. This is the same people, but different thing. And there will be other software they're trying to get you. It is just apps.ankiweb.net. You press it, hit download, it takes you to the bottom of the screen, and whether it's Windows or Mac should automatically know, and then you can press the top one. If you have an older device, maybe you want to look and see, okay, which one does that apply to me, right? Which one does that apply to me? Looks like if you're Windows, you're going to be fine, but Mac, maybe depending on what you have here. But in general, for 99% of cases, the top one's going to work the best for you, right? And it'll tell you how to tell, right? Very well, so you download it, you open it up, go to the tools and add-ons, and that really should be it. All right, there's one last thing to show you, and that is how you get the cloze AnKing MCAT deck, should you want that special bit. So let me show you. Okay, so in the description of this video, you'll see that I'll include this link. And what this link is, it's literally just a deck. It's a deck for if you're going to study for the MCAT, and it has all of the MCAT flashcards in it, but it also is going to give you this little bits of software, right? So you'll press download, and when you press download, it'll take a second to download because it's a lot of flashcards, but then it'll have a very obvious and intuitive way to bring it in. You'll hit import, then you'll exit out, and then you'll see there'll be a whole new section of cards, okay? Now those cards don't matter to you. You can, as soon as it's downloaded in your deck, you can go over here, hit options, and then hit delete, and it'll go away, okay? Now though, you'll notice once you've downloaded it, you do have access then to the cloze AnKing MCAT, and you'll have something that looks exactly like this. It's nice, you can type little extra notes, you can have mixed questions on here, all kinds of unique things which are very cool to have, okay? Other than that, that's about everything that I know about Anki. I think that's as much as I can help you. Use what you can, okay? Study them well. Again, I think for anatomy, this is a no-brainer tool, okay? I can't imagine any better way to do anatomy. So this is, some of my cards that I use, right? I go through, I feel I'm learning the blood vessels of the hand, right? I can block this out and show it. It's a very quick way to make flashcards, okay? So I highly encourage you to use this. I highly encourage you to explore it further. If you have any questions, you can, of course, ask me. But this is truly a beautiful application that can come at use, right? And as I was kind of mentioning exporting earlier, if you have friends that want to make flashcards with you, it's great because you can say, hey, why don't you guys do the lower limb? I'll do the upper limb, right? Divvy it up and then share cards, right? You can import file, or if you were the person exporting, you can export some cards, right? Again, it doesn't have to be the whole deck. It can be only a select few, right? Say these are the cards I was due for. Notes. Export notes, right? So that is an important thing to keep in mind. And like I said before, how you can change a deck. When you import something, they'll come in as a whole separate deck. 2 fingers or right click if you're on Windows, change deck, room it in, just like that, all right? That all should be very intuitive. I hope this was useful for you. Again, just ask me if you have any questions, but go out there and learn. And again, Anki works on spaced repetition, so it's really important that you do your daily cards, right? You'll notice for this time block, I did it for 157 days in a row. Then I had summer break. And now since the semester started, I've been going 90 days in a row, right? It is a lot easier to keep up with them if you do your scheduled cards. It also allows the algorithm to work as it should, right? And so rather than them bottling up, which is what happens here, rather than letting them bottle up, right, you do little increments at a time, 245, 245, 355, 360. And if I didn't do those for 4 days in a row, I'd have 1,000 cards to do almost, right? So it's really important that you do your daily cards. Now, will you have that many cards? No, right? I use Anki for every class, and I make a shit ton of cards, okay? But I do think that for advanced anatomy, you guys will probably have 20, 30 cards a day. Look, for 283 cards, it took me 43 minutes, and I was going slow. Let me tell you, 9.81 seconds a card is a long time. So I think, honestly, if you guys are doing 50 to 100 cards a day, it should take you 10 minutes tops, okay? You'll be fine. You'll be great. But do follow the algorithm, right? Take advantage of that. Take advantage of this resource. And again, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be around. Thanks.